back to another episode of Letter Boss. I have a special guest here today that is revisiting Eric Dawson.
Yes.
But today we're going to talk about something other than real estate. I'm going to ask you other questions about your life.
Absolutely.
This morning we had our group coaching, and the topic has been coming up the last few weeks a lot about what makes someone a high performing individual and what are the habits of a high performer and what does it mean to be a high performer. Mm-hmm. And you come from a sports background,
right.
You know, you did rock climbing, you did a lot of different things that have required you to reach in and bring out that inner high performance habits. So we're talking about, high performance habits, and we all have different areas in our life where we find the drive to accomplish a goal, and sometimes it's a work goal, sometimes it's a life goal, sometimes a fitness goal. And like a lot of times when we hit those mile markers in our age, we have a place where we want to be. I remember one time, actually, it stuck with me for years and years and years. And I passed this mile marker. My brother told me, whatever shape you're in when you're 40 is where you're going to be. It's going to be hard to go back and get any better than that going forward in your age. So I really worked at being in a good place when I turned 40. So I know I could get back to that mile marker.
Yeah.
And we have some other friends, that have run marathons, that have had big goals. And so you had some big fitness goals that required you to make some sacrifices and say no to some things in your life.
Yeah.
So I wanted to talk about that, the things that we have to say no to, because it's just as much about the committing to the yeses and committing to the workout or committing to the getting up early or the committing to going as it is the no is just as important.
Yeah.
So
absolutely.
will you tell us about some things you had to say no to?
Gosh, I mean, it's interesting because in the last, I don't know, like not even that long ago, I'm going to push back on your brother a little bit because
you didn't like where you were when you were 40, did you?
There have been times throughout, between 40 and wherever I'm at right now, that I was not happy with myself. I just wasn't.
Well, it doesn't mean that you
No. But what I'm saying
there.
is the fitness part, like he's saying, is fit. I don't believe that. I don't agree with that. I think that so much of what drives me in my fitness is up here. It's not. I'm not going to limit myself by thinking, oh well. To me, it's like, what, you're going to give up? Like that's it? No, I never feel like that's it ever. And so I feel like, in terms of saying no to things, I actually feel like limiting yourself, which it kind of puts you out of your comfort zone a bit. That's the key to me. It's like putting yourself out of your comfort zone. And I try to do things like we've talked about before, like doing ice baths. And I've also gotten into intermittent fasting and things like that. They're not natural states for me to be in. Most people aren't, getting up early in the morning. That's another one. It's like, I feel like the more I limit myself and really, really hone in on the things that are really important to me, it actually puts me in a calmer state. Mm-hmm. Like I really do feel calmer. And it also kind of strips away all the distractions. The things that, everybody loves to sleep in, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, most people do. That's not for me. That I know that's not where I want to be. I want to challenge myself. I always want to challenge myself because, to me, from my standpoint, my perspective is that's what it means to be alive. And we have no one has an expiration date. We don't know how long we have, any of that. I just went through where I'm currently. My sister has cancer right now, and that is a reminder to me that you have to make the most of what you have. Make the most. It's like you've been given this gift. And so to me, the responsibility is not to be, lazy, and not to lie to yourself, be truthful with yourself. And that's a big issue, or a big value I have now, more now than ever, is to live in a truth and be honest with yourself. The more honest you are with yourself, the better chance you have of making real change, because you're looking at all the things as they are. not as you think they are.
Yeah.
You're really being honest, right? I know when I go into the gym and I direct all my workouts myself, I set them all up. And I'm the only one in there that's accountable to me, really, truly. And so to me, it's like a waste of time to go in and feel good about myself because I walked in the gym and I was in there for an hour. I want to feel like I made some kind of progress, some kind of change. That's important to me. I feel like I'm going somewhere. The other piece of that for me too is having faith that the things that you're doing are going to take you in a positive direction, right?
Yeah.
So my mantra right now is I get amazing results because of small daily habits, right? And for me, that's a big thing, because right in our society right now, and I'm reading a book on mastery right now, it's talking about that very thing. We're all about short one gains. If it's not happening right now or tomorrow, then it's not worth it. And really, for me, and this goes into my career too, and this is kind of my vision for myself and my career long term, is I want to be a good business person, a good steward of my clients, all of those things. I take that very serious. Those are very high values for me. So you have to be honest. Are you doing everything that you can do to make that happen, right? And that goes into every element of your life.
Yeah,
every element.
It starts with those little things.
Yeah.
And one thing you told me, because I know intermittent fasting was kind of new to your routine,
Yeah.
and you said it's something you can control.
That's
Because
right.
in our day-to-day, and agents and sales individuals and high performers talk about this all the time, is we have disruptors in our day all the time. We have things that we can't control that lead us to sometimes have bad health habits, right? You get stuck, you can't eat, but you have this one thing that you can control, that you have pinpointed as something that is creating better health for you.
Right.
Just like taking the ice bath or, your routines in your gym. And I know, like, saying no to alcohol, like that is something you can control. You can do all the other things that you would normally do in your day and in your work, but you can say no to that one unhealthy habit or soda or whatever it is. That's something, maybe it's not an addiction to that point where it's really that harmful, but it's something that's just eking away at your health and your performance.
Yeah.
You know,
Well,
you
going
used to
into
always tell
that,
me that would stop you from sleeping good. You're like, I know if I
Yes.
have a drink, I'm not going to sleep good that night, and then I'm tired the next morning, which then starts you off on the wrong
So
note.
that, again, going back to the being truthful with yourself, okay, no one is going to tell you that what you're eating is bad for you. They're not going to go, hey, you really shouldn't have that, whatever.
You tell me that kind of stuff all the time.
Never do. It's never happened. Never happened.
That's not true.
But my point is that you have to be accountable to yourself.
Yeah.
No one is going to know the real deal except for you. And if you're lying to yourself by doing things that you know are not healthy for you, I mean, to me, it's like that's so key. If you want change, you've got to be truthful. You've got to get to the core of who you are before you can do that. You pivot off of that, because then you're dealing with the real stuff, And so getting back to the discipline part, that also is really important. Okay. It's the thing, real discipline to me, and I've seen it because, like, we have our struggle is real, workout page that we've done, and what I see is people who start with habits and then pretty soon they phase out. You don't hear about them anymore. You know what I mean? To me, where you're really working discipline is when you hang on to that in your mind throughout the day, and you know that you didn't do those things, and you make the time to do them. You make a point. You create the appointment with yourself to do that. I'm now in my work life going to the office. I'm showing up. What I'm doing right now is I'm creating a schedule for myself. We talk about time blocking. I've had the worst relationship with time blocking forever. I mean, I'm just because I was weaker back in, not that long ago. And so easily distracted, as we all are, with social media, texting, whatever comes into your mind. You're like, oh, I wonder what, you know what I'm saying? Like, it takes you out.
In avoidance mode. But one thing I've noticed, I've watched your career from the beginning and different phases of it. And when I've seen you super disciplined in your life is where I've seen you the most successful.
Positive. Absolutely.
And it usually starts with a discipline in your health and a discipline in your fitness and your routine.
It's everything.
And stability in that routine. And then I see what follows is, and our careers kind of ebb and flow, right? And I told the group this morning, for me, like, I can go back and look at pivotal moments in my career where it soared. And it was when I was the most disciplined in my life, when I was getting up consistently in the morning and I was doing my daily routines. And I may have not always been the most healthy, in my fitness area, but I was in a good place of my discipline.
Yeah.
And it's where we focus our discipline where we want to. Like,
but if you look at growth, right? Growth is not this.
Yeah, it is.
Growth is this and then this for a while, and then this and then this for a while. Okay?
We just don't want to go down.
Right?
we want to keep
but maybe you do.
Up.
Maybe there is regression. Maybe you do go back a little bit. And that's okay. That's all part of the process. In working out, getting hurt, that's all part of the process, right? You're going to get hurt. If you work out, it's inevitably going to happen at some point. You're going to do something that's going to affect you. But in those within, and this goes back to what I was saying about the immediate gratification, we all want the win right now, right? But the discipline is still doing the things when nothing's happening. That's where you have to have that internal fortitude, that internal strength to say, I'm going to keep going because I know eventually I'm going to get there. Yeah. You have to believe in yourself every day. And for me, I do that through, I meditate, and every day I meditate. I also journal. I write affirmations every day now, every day. And so that, for me, and showing up in the office means that I care. I care about myself. I care about my business. And I'm being completely honest about that with myself because it's evidenced in my actions. Yeah. If I slept in, if I decided, I'm going to screw around today, I'm not going to do anything. Well, that's on me if I do that. That's also me not being honest and not being committed. Not to say that you can't have downtime, not to say that you can't have balance, but you have to be honest about that too. Am I being balanced, or am I just being...
Do you have intentional, and I feel like you've gotten to a good place. One reason I really wanted to hear you share is watching that ebb and flow of different times in your life, you've gotten to a place of intentional balance. And like you just came back from a great trip celebrating your birthday. You're not going to tell the number. I think you should be proud of the number because I think that it makes your milestone of where you're at even bigger of what you've achieved in your health, because not everybody's feeling as great and doing the things you're doing at the age that you're at. And, it's just a number.
That's true. And I don't want to talk about that number anymore. I don't. I mean, honestly, I don't.
That's not the...
That's not my... I don't consider that... I don't know if this is right or wrong.
That's the achievement of, getting to a place in your life where it doesn't matter what your age is. It matters how you feel and what you can do. But when you told me when you were getting ready for the trip, you're like, I'm going to be really disciplined. You're like, so I can really enjoy... I'm really going to enjoy this. I'm not going to worry about the eating and the timing and all of that stuff when I'm there. You're going to just... You were intentionally taking that time off from your routine.
So a year ago, I did stop drinking, and for life. And I did it for health reasons. I had some issues. I had a discussion with my doctor, and I decided it was time to stop. And I did, and I feel great from that. But the other thing that I committed to, because I'll just say it. Okay, 60 is a big number, right? 60 is kind of a milestone.
But I mean, someday when I get there.
50 years from now,
right?
Right? You're like 10, right?
Yeah.
No, no, but I that to me was I've always had, and my wife will confirm this, that I've always had a very acute awareness of this limited time that we have on the planet. Like I am very, very much in touch with that. At my age, I've lost people that are 10 years younger than me, that were friends, you know, and we've all been there, right? We've all been there, and that puts you in touch with that. It's like, what are you going to do with that? Are you going to get scared? Or are you going to respond to it in a way that says, for me, and part of this is like in tribute to them, I'm going to live my best life and be as, you know, dedicated, disciplined about the things that I do, and make it matter, make it count, because it does count.
Yeah.
It all matters. It really does. It matters for me. It matters for my wife. It matters for my children. All of those things. I want to be around. And not only that, I want to be healthy at an advanced age. I don't want to just live long. A lot of people live long and they're miserable. I don't want to be that way. Yeah, exactly. So that's why all of these things have suddenly become really important, you know, and that's what drives me. And to me, if you can find, we always talk about the why in our, you know, our business and that sort of thing. And for me, if you can find that kind of why, it's pretty powerful. It drives you every day. It really does.
And we've had a couple people as guests on here that have talked about that too, about really getting to a place where you love your life and you enjoy your life to the point where you want it to be extended as far as it can be extended and enjoy it as much as you can.
Yeah.
And, you know, I think, like, I love your page, The Struggle is Real, because it's constant, and there's always a constant struggle to stay ahead of it, because society now is throwing so many unhealthy things at us. Just like in our business, it's always throwing so many distractions to keep us doing what we want. Society's throwing so many things to make us unhealthy, really. Like, you think, like, health is a big fad, but
no.
Out there, everything, everywhere you turn is the sugar, the fat, the alcohol, the smoking. I mean, all these new, quick, easy ways of really putting garbage into your body.
Society approves of that.
Yeah.
They condone it. They promote it. It's not even a matter of like, you know, yeah, you could do that. No, we want you to do that because that keeps us in business. A lot of it's money driven. But also, if you look at larger society and like the obesity crisis in our country and things like that, it's like, are you going to believe what society tells you, or are you going to believe your own lying eyes? You know what I mean? Like, are you going to like say, I don't want to go that way. I want this path for myself. That's a real choice.
We just have to finding that motivation and saying no to those things, and, you know, sharing that you said no to alcohol for your health reasons. Like, I think in this industry, like, a lot of times that I've read a lot about how that stops a lot of people from that peak high performance phase in their career, is that, you know, and we think it's okay, we feel high functioning on those things that are fun, you know, whether it's sugar and soda and or having the happy hour drinks that make you feel great when you're interacting. But then what does it do for you through the night and into the next day?
And affect the rest of the quality of your life.
And then you continue with steps. And I had that health wake-up call a couple years ago, and had to make that pivotal shift of, like, saying no to some of those things. And sometimes it's saying no to the environments around you, because some people do not encourage us to do healthy things.
They try to sabotage it.
They do.
Because, in my opinion, they're threatened by it.
They are. Well, and I told
Why did you stop drinking?
This morning.
Did you have a problem? I'm like, that's not the only reason why a person stops drinking. Sometimes they want to be healthier.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you, I've gone through stretches where I didn't have alcohol, and I was amazed at, like, the good things that happened to me in my life from it. You know?
Yeah.
And now I feel like that more than ever. It's like I'm living more authentically. And you can delude yourself so easily with alcohol. I mean, not to harp on it too much, but it really is true. Like, you can tell yourself a lot of lies.
Well, and but I really, what I recognized watching you several times, like, for health commitment reasons, like, step away from it. I did for a whole year, like, step away from it, and it showed me the people around me that were encouraging and not encouraging. Like, I literally watched you after almost a year of not drinking, somebody buy you a drink and try to get you to drink it, because. True. And it was a friend, right? And that same friend did the same thing to me, like, when I was trying not to eat carbs. And it's packaged in such a loving way.
It's so subtle.
But they don't want to be alone in what they don't want to let go of it, and it's making them uncomfortable when you've let go of it.
I couldn't agree more. Yeah.
And I'm not saying like I'm going through like a little reset in my health, and so I'm saying no to some of those things, you know, the sugar and the carbs and the alcohol.
All of it.
Doesn't mean to be forever, but it's like you need to, what happens is that clarity of what's around you, and you go, okay, so when I drink, I do this, or when I eat this, it makes me feel this way.
Yeah.
And just going through those trials of elimination, that's what I love about the intermittent fasting too, is that kind of also reset some habits of how you do your morning routine. Like, what are you eating for lunch, and why, what makes you go eat? Like, is it just snack time, or is it, you know, I'm actually hungry? And it's, I think it's the same thing for, you can look at it, same thing with social media and TV and our phones, and like, why are we looking at our phones? And sometimes I think fasting can be from so much more than just food. Like, you can pick different things and eliminate them from your life for a short period of time, and see what does change when you eliminate that.
Agree with that.
Like, it changed your morning routine when you just stopped eating in the morning, right?
Yeah, absolutely. But I agree with you about getting rid of, you know, and again, these are socially condoned behaviors, right? They're not necessarily the best thing for you. Yeah. They're ruining, honestly, in my opinion, they're having some really bad effects on our youth. And because if you don't measure up, if this isn't you, what's wrong with you? Like that. Yeah. You know what I mean? I was going to say about in terms of like getting away from the alcohol and that sort of thing, you know, I in our society now, if you want to look into some strength to, you know, if you're thinking about maybe trying it or whatever, we also live in a time of a lot of food sensitivities, people that don't eat certain things because it affects them in a bad way, or, you know, like inflammation, or even worse things than that. So I think that there's more sympathy now towards, I just don't want to do that. It's not good for me. It doesnn't affect me well. That's an acceptable excuse now to say that.
I don't.
Unless you're a jerk. I don't have
gluten. I don't have dairy. That's what that comedian always says when people say, I don't need mayonnaise. Nobody goes, why? Are you addicted to mayonnaise? Like,
right.
Nobody asks you when you're giving up dairy. Why? You know, but when you give up something that is so socially acceptable, especially in our industry. I guess I wanted to talk about the alcohol thing, because in our industry it's so prevalent. Like, I did not drink before I got into the real estate industry, and really heavy into like the social networking side of it, where it became really prevalent, and then it becomes a habit. Yeah. And then it becomes something that you continue with. But just even if you're just having one or two drinks, it's just something that's affecting your sleep. It's affecting your glycemic index. And the more I've read about like what it does to the chemical index in your body, if it's become a daily habit, it's going to really have a hardcore effect on your ability to be a high performer.
So going back to the fasting piece that we were talking about, I did an extended fast. I'm not going to say how long, but it was an extended fast. It was a lengthy one. It's interesting because when you have that removed, suddenly it's quiet. Now what do I do?
Yeah.
What do I do at this time when I used to like fill that with a meal or a snack or something like that? It really makes you look at like what is valuable. Also, you don't always have to listen to what your body is telling you. You don't always have to do that, right? I mean, it's like, just because your body is saying it's hungry does not mean that you're actually hungry. We can go for a long time without eating and we'll be fine. But we're encouraged and we're surrounded. I mean, drive by a Burger King and listen and smell that smell that's pumped out onto the street on purpose to make you feel like, I want a Burger King hamburger right now, you know, like that. And lots of restaurants do that. It's a smart marketing tool because we're triggered on such a base level, and then we follow it without even being aware of it. You know, and so when you remove things like that, I think like social media is a really good example. You start to realize the triggers that make you do that. Wow, I'm really like, I'm living on reflex. You know what I mean? I'm not living intentionally. I'm living on reflex now. That's not being in control. That's not being disciplined. And kind of circling back to what we originally started talking about, if you want to be more disciplined, then you need to look, in my opinion, you need to look at the things that you just do without even thinking about it. Be aware, be conscious about the choices you make in your life and how you live.
Being intentional.
Absolutely.
And that was like one of the top things was being intentional. And I remember asking this question of, I've met some really high performers in my life, like that are going up on stage and telling their stories. And some of the things that I always was interested in is like, so what do you eat every day? Like, and some of them will be like, I eat the same thing. I can't remember who told the story. Like, he would literally take his grill with him wherever he went because he ate salmon and like brown rice every single day.
His set.
But one of the reasons why he was intentional about it, because he said, then there's no other. That's just what I eat every day.
You're in control. You
like
are
I'm
in control
of this. Is when I travel, this is the only thing that
travel's
I drink.
hard.
This is the because but if you say and then you get marked as being kind of fussy. Sometimes, because I remember going in when I've been on special diets or I've been not drinking and you go in and people are like, well, you're fussy, like why are you, but it's like, no, I'm being intentional because I know if I just say, well, I can have whatever, then it just opens up this door of not being disciplined about what I'm doing. And I think it's the same way with, what time you get up in the morning. Like, it's like, there's a lot of criticism towards that. Why would you get up at 4 o'clock?
I used to think that
4 o'clock in the morning?
When you would tell me when you get up, when you did, I'm like, ugh, never.
Yeah. And it's so like I've had things that have creeped in my life and I've moved that back. And I see though what it has taken out of my life as that's moved back to a 5 o'clock mark or, last year it was, 6, 7 o'clock because I had somebody living with me that slept in. And, I think when you get to that place, it's really about your choice. Mm-hmm. And you can't because this morning when I brought that up and people said, well, my kids, my husband, my whatever it is, the different reasons of why they weren't getting to bed early and they weren't getting up early. And it's like, you have to make the choice. Yeah. But I can see the pattern of consequence when I'm not disciplined. Right. And it takes a little while to catch up with you, but when it catches up with you, you're like, oh, now I got to go all the way back to the beginning. I know. That's how I feel about the ice baths. All the way over.
I don't take long periods without getting in the ice bath because I want to stay conditioned to it. And the same thing is like, if you're not getting up early and you're thinking about it, just do steps. Yeah. Any habits, if you do them over time, they will start to feel normal. The hardest part is starting, and it's the same thing with fitness. It's like, I swear, it's not as hard as you think. You're making it harder than, I'm speaking generally, of course, but you're making it harder by overthinking it. If you just started pretty soon, and I equate, my metaphor is, being in a boat and paddling away from the island of comfort. It's like after you do it, after a couple of days, of doing it,
the island disappears.
The island's behind you. It's behind you, and like, oh, I'm doing it. Yeah. And that's really all it takes. You've got to commit, and then be kind to yourself, and just like if you fail, okay, start again. Just keep going, don't stop, because ultimately, those little habits are going to add up to amazingness in your life. I really do believe that. Mm-hmm. And if you just pick something that you want to do for yourself to be better, that's the way to do it. It's not a magic pill. It's not quick and right now. It's going to take time. Be patient and give yourself grace for the process, And if you can do that, you can do whatever you want. You can achieve whatever you want. And what a great feeling of accomplishment when you do that. It's you look back now and you're like, that's who I was. That's not who I am now. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? It's great. I love it. Well, and you can inspire other people too, which is also a big value of mine too. It's like, be the example. Right. And inspire others too, because people want to be better. They do.
Well, and it's not that we're perfect, but when we talk about it and we share it does inspire us. And that's the whole reason why I wanted to do a podcast and share this, because I think everyone struggles with these different things. Yeah. Everyone is in the same boat, not just in our industry, but just in life in general.
But I'm nothing special. I'm just a normal person like everybody else.
You're just willing to share your story.
I'm willing to share it, but I decided, I called my shot. I said, this is what I want. When you decide what you want and you start to work towards it, and if you keep that vision, that will keep you disciplined. If it's a really good why, then that will power you through all the hard stuff, and there will be hard stuff. But, like all the setbacks, injury or whatnot, sickness, all the things, right? But if you really have a solid vision of what you want, don't be afraid to say it. I don't care how outrageous it is.
Yeah.
I want this. I want to be the best agent in Yamhill County. I want to move X amount, pick your number, even the one that they say that it's not a good goal unless it scares you. Well, I'm there now. Yeah. I've got that. You know what I mean? Goal. Okay, I'll say it. You know what I mean? Yeah. And to me, even if you don't hit that goal, and this goes back again to what I was saying a year ago, I wanted to be in the best health I could be by the time I hit my 60th birthday. Let me tell you, that's a powerful motivation. I wanted to look at myself and feel good. And that kept me going every day. That kept me showing up.
You had a deadline.
Show up.
Well, yeah. we talked about that too this morning. Is like if you have a deadline, and that's why, like a race or some kind of obstacle, event that you're going to do when you're finished, that always would drive me like, okay, I've got that deadline's approaching. I've got to keep going. And we put deadlines, on the calendar a lot of times for our success, but it doesn't always work out, and people lose their motivation because they get closer and closer to that deadline, and you're like, I'm not going to make it. Yeah. So you have to have more than just a deadline for yourself. You have to have a reason why you're doing it.
Yeah, and I also think there's mileposts too. So yeah, you're not here yet, but you're here, and you were there before. So how about celebrate that?
Yeah, and people
how about tell your friends about it? I'm feeling so great. Like, I can't believe that, I can move around, I can walk, I can run, I can do whatever that is that you set out to do. Set those little micro goals, and they'll power you through. They're motivators. Yeah. They are motivators. And we can't always rely on motivation. We have to rely on discipline above everything. But those trigger motivation when you get those little wins.
It makes you really self-aware too of like where if you can look at it and say, oh, I'm not there, don't give up. But what did you achieve by working towards that goal? Okay, these were my wins, and these were my weaknesses.
You got it.
And now I'm going to focus on overcoming those weaknesses.
Yeah.
And, a mentor told me years ago, was like, pick something every year to do that scares you, really scares you.
Yeah.
And it wasn't that it had to do anything with your business. It just, because it starts training your brain to not be afraid of things.
Also, again, getting out of your comfort zone. I went to a sales training in Colorado about a month and a half ago. I think it was that long. And one of the things they talk about was your life list. What are the things that you want to do? Dream. Yeah. Like, where do you want to go? I want to go to Iceland. That's a big one for me. There's other things too that I want to do. Yeah. I want to go to a really cool place. I already did it actually in Hawaii. I wanted to go to a really cool place to go surf where it was the kind of waves that I want, and like that. So come up with a life list. Figure out what you want to do with your life, and I mean the fun stuff, right? Like the bucket list, right? What's your bucket list? And then keep that list and check them off as you do them. Yeah. That's cool. I think that's really exciting.
That's really the goal. Like for me, that there's so many things on my bucket list that are personal things for me and my daughter, the experiences I want to have. But there's so many others that I have from like my friends and for my coworkers, and experiences I want to give and things I want to give back to my community that drive me even more than that I want to go on a really fancy trip. And when people say that, their why and their driving force is their children, well, you're always going to find a way to like take care of your kids, right? Like we're going to find a way. But sometimes to do those I don't think that we should have to sacrifice living a really good life ever. I think it's always in your grip.
Yes.
You just have to do the hard things sometimes.
I feel like that's why, my wife and I, we have the same kind of attitude about things. It's not just about us, although we do things for us. We love to travel, and we decided it was like we went to San Francisco about a year and a half ago, and I was like, what are our values? Our values are travel, meeting people. We love meeting new people and helping. We love to help. That's one of the things, and that's why, I know I found the right person because she has that value, very unselfish and very caring towards people, and I love that. I was like, if that's how you are, I want to be with you because that's how I feel, and I want to believe that that's real. I want to believe that people do those things. I know they do, but I want to be with someone like that. Do you know what I mean?
It's really important too. Like if your goal is only for yourself, it's easier to give up because you're like, well, okay, I really wanted that, but I don't have to have it. But if your goal is for others, and mine has always been, people laugh at me because I had somebody Googled it the other day because they're like, are you sure you know what that means? But I said I always wanted to be a philanthropist, which is basically so you can give a lot away.
Yeah.
But it's where you're at a secured place in your life where you have the ability to give a lot away.
Some of the most successful people, Warren Buffett, Bill Gates, they all do that.
I want the ability to be able to give when somebody asks, and when I can't give because I haven't worked hard enough and I don't have enough to give when somebody's in need. Yeah. That is a powerful motivator. Like if you think like, that I can't because I can't, I won't say the words. I can't say it. I'm not allowed to say it. But you know, when you don't have enough to give, when you don't have enough because you didn't make enough to give it to somebody else, like I don't. That pushes me because I can always make enough to take care of myself. Like I'm not going to, but I want to be able to take other people on the ride with me. I want to go on the trip and take my friends on the trip. I want to go on the trip and take other family on the trip.
But that's also an attitude of you're not, and this is in my, I have this thing, it's a poem by a guy named Robin Sharma, called, it's about mastery. And he talks about, I'm not just a taker, I'm a giver too. And I'm like, yeah, that's right. I mean, it's okay to want things. It's okay to make yourself happy by getting things, but it can't be all of that, because I feel like if you do it just to get what you can get, then you're not living a really full life, and you're missing out on the experience that you get when you know you're making a difference for someone else. Yeah. That's huge. That's such a big deal. And you know what? What are we here for? Is it just to be, I hate to think that we're just here to be takers. That to me is a terrible thought. There are people out there that are that way, and I have a hard time understanding it, but that's not what I'm about. That's not my values, you know? And so I feel like by elevating others, we elevate ourselves. Yeah. I really do think so.
I do. Well, I do. And we talked about that today, you know, a little bit about there's folks that are like the crabs in the bucket that keep pulling you in and holding you in. I know some people hadn't heard that analogy that everybody's gone crabbing, and, you know, if you put one crab in a bucket, it climbs out. But if there's two or three, they keep pulling each other down. Yeah. And we're in an industry where we like to work together, but you have to be very careful who you align, that you align yourself with people that are going to either be your cheerleader or they're going to be that driver with you and encourage you. Yeah. And it is in life all in general.
Right. But even our business, right? When I'm working with someone it doesn't matter if they're buying or selling, I'm working with another agent. We all have the same goals. Mm-hmm. So wouldn't it be easier? Wouldn't it be better if we all got along and don't try to see what we can get in it for ourselves? We all want to bring this to a successful conclusion. And if I look like I'm just trying to get what I want, it's not going to go over well. Yeah. It won't. And I always say, keep the mojo good, right? Keep it good when you're working with another agent through a transaction, because it's if you are good to people more often than not, when you get down the road and you're in a situation where you can't control what happens, they're going to give you the benefit of the doubt because they know you're coming with a good heart. Mm-hmm. That's the deal to me. Like, be cool. Yeah. You know what I mean? And I feel like that served me well, actually. I really do. And also not believe, and that part of that taker attitude too, it's like, it goes back to what we've talked about in our business of having a scarcity mindset or an abundance mindset. If you know we're all going to be okay, if you take that attitude, you will be. Mm-hmm. If you think, I want mine, you know, like, what about mine? It's not going to go well for you. It won't, because people pick up on that. You're all about yourself. You're just a taker. I don't want to work with that person, you know? And so that giving part is so important. And I'm not saying it's not a device. It's an attitude. It's an approach to your life to give. And I just feel like that's a big deal. I really do. Yeah. It's
really important. Yeah. That was my favorite Zig Ziglar quote, was you can have everything you want in life if you just help others get everything they want. Yeah. Like, we're here to serve. If you're really focused on helping others get what they want, and it's like, it's not just in business, it's in our life, in our family, And in your relationships, like if you were just a taker in your relationship and you weren't willing to give, it would not be a very successful relationship. It has to be a two-way street. You both have to be.
And that's what I loved about this thing that I went to, this sales training thing, is that it was the word serving people, taking interest in people, really genuinely. Like, how are you today? What did you do this weekend? Did you do something? Let's hear about it. I want to hear about it. It should, to me, every conversation should start that way. You want to show your genuine interest in that person as a person, not just as a transaction, not just as a number, not just a check mark on your sales for the year like that. Because again, I'm in it for the long haul. And so if I convey that to my people that I genuinely care, which I do, I feel like that's going to result in a positive way. So
no, it is, but you have to really feel it inside. So you have to get
it has to be real.
Where
it's
where
not
you're centered enough and you're focused enough, and you're not just in this frenzy of trying to get through your day. And that's why I think it goes back to all of those little habits of really being intentional, because then it frees your mind and your body up to really actually go out and be okay. I can focus on this person. Yeah,
and if you are coming from a place of abundance and understanding that you're going to have enough, you'll be okay. That you just relax. It's just so much better, and people want to work with you then because they know that you genuinely have their interest at heart. And I love that, and that's like I can do that.
Yeah,
it's
not
easy.
Focusing on getting a sale. It's not focusing on what you can get out of it. It's focused on how you can go out. Just go out and find people to help today. If you could just go out and find people. I even tell my employees that it's like, when you come in, it's like, yes, you have a checklist of things you should do, but you should really come in like, who can I help today? Like, who is it that's going to walk through the door?
How can I serve someone?
Yeah, who's going to email me? Who's going to call me? Who's going to walk in the door that can help? And not think of those calls and walk-ins as distractions and interruptions in your checklist, because you showed up today to look for people to help.
Yeah. But the other thing too, though, it's like, and I just was listening to something about this, was the idea of giving to people, giving to them, is you have to mean it. Don't do it and then put it on social media like, look what I did. That doesn't count. Yeah. It's the things that you do when no one's watching. That's also called integrity. The things you do when no one's watching, the decisions you make, that's your integrity right there,
I
without
saw
advertising it.
Early on in my career, and this was even before social media was really all that it is now, but I watched an agent show up to a charity event, put on an outfit, take some photos, and then leave. Like they were there for like 10 minutes.
Check.
And they checked it off, and it posted somewhere, I'm sure, or went out into some magazine or something. And not that I think that you share your good deeds to inspire others to do them.
Sure.
You can't
look at the cool thing we're doing. This is fun. Yeah. That's different.
My accountant gets mad at me all the time because I give money to things I can't write off, and I'm like, well, I don't want to give for a write-off.
That's not the point.
I want to give for those, because those around me that need are not a write-off.
I really appreciate that.
I want to give, not to get a write-off. And not to knock Warren Buffett and them, but a lot of times they're big donations. Yes, they are something good, but it's like, and I'm sure they give outside of the write-off industry, but it's like, you have to think about why you're giving. Like, are you giving?
Where's your heart?
Because you have extra to give and you need a write-off. And I've told the agents that, you're like, can you sponsor this button? It's like, I can't. Sometimes I can't because I've given a personal loan to somebody or given money to somebody that's completely off the books. But I think that it's important that people look at it that way. It's like, if you're showing up in your day, whether it be at work or your 9 to 5, or if you're in sales like we are, or if you're just for your family, are you showing up of how you can give back to that other person?
Showing up. I love that.
Yeah.
I think that's all true. Show up for them, show up for yourself.
And then what goes back to, like, how are you starting your day? Because when you show up, and when I show up for my relationship or for my child, it's like, that's when I wake up in the morning. So what I did the night before, what I put in my body, how I treated my body is going to dictate how I show up. Am I just showing up, or am I showing up? Am I showing up to the job? Am I showing up to
I love that.
Where I can actually be present? Like, my little girl jumped in bed with me, just laughing and giggly this morning because she got a good night's sleep. And I fortunately had gotten I could show up for her and not be like, oh my gosh, you're showing to get out of bed. Like I could actually wake up and show up for her this morning. And
well, and the thing is, life is short. Again, I go back to the original point. So one thing that I remember was when my mom was diagnosed. She was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer. This was back in 2006. Immediately, because pancreatic cancer is a bad one. It's a countdown basically to the end. It's not very long. And then what I lost was the gift of, and I told her this, I said, I miss being bored with you. Do you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like I miss not worrying about that. How many times are we around our friends and our loved ones? We don't even think about that ending. We think it's going to go on forever. It doesn't. And so really paying attention to those moments when your daughter is, being crazy and goofy and all that, as a young girl would be, appreciate it. Really pay attention to that moment. Take a video of it in your head and remember it, because they will never be that way ever again. And wherever you're at, it doesn't matter when in your life you are, but if you need to bring that gift to yourself, because it doesn't last. It just doesn't. And appreciate, really, really value it. And I think that leads to happiness. It's like we talk about being grateful for things. I rate gratitudes now every day. And I do see the benefit of it. It's like, yeah, my life's all right. Like I've got great people in my life that love me and great friends and all those things. And why not say that? Yeah. You know what I mean? Well, why not? Don't take it for granted, because you don't get to. You shouldn't.
Yeah. Well, I think that we live on edge sometimes to go on to the next thing. And in my career, I worked with a lot of seniors, and you couldn't be in a hurry, because sometimes the most important part of the transaction was the relationship.
Take the time.
And it's like their time was less than my time left. And so those moments of just building those strong relationships and taking that extra couple hours of sitting there, which would have been a half-hour appointment, turns into a 3-hour appointment. But it was little deposits in that relationship and that time that was left.
So much value.
Would never, ever want to lose it. Like those were so valuable in my growth and my life and my career and the wisdom. And I even actually the other night sitting at your home, and I had kind of like a deadline in my head of when I was getting back, even though I didn't have anything I had to go home for.
You're not here.
You're not here. So then I remember actually, it was, you were sitting there and I saw your tattoo.
Yeah.
Because Leslie was like, just stay a little bit longer. And I was like, and then I thought, what do I really have to go to right now?
So
nothing.
For the record, my tattoo says "Be here now."
Yes.
Yeah, and that's my reminder.
And I just thought, once I went, the tension went away, because there was really nothing I had to run off to, and there was hours of moments there that what
are you in a rush for?
Yeah, I got to experience
we had a great time
of relationship, a deposit in a relationship.
We created memories.
Yeah, and it was a memory that, yes, I could have run off and whatever it was that I had to do, I don't even remember. But sometimes we're actually just training our brain to just keep thinking about going on to the next thing.
Yeah,
and there's really
you don't want to end up down the road kicking yourself and like, why didn't I listen to my kid when he wanted to tell me that story? Yeah. Why didn't I? You know what I mean? Like the thing that seems so insignificant, you would trade everything to have back.
Yeah. Yeah.
You would.
Yeah. I want to know what would I have missed running off. And I think that society's trained us to get hurry for the next thing.
Yeah.
Just like all of the apps now go from a scroll. And what is the average couple second watch? They don't even enjoy to the end. We binge watch TV shows instead of enjoying it for the whole week and waiting for the next one to come out. We get them all at once so we can watch them all at once, because there's no process and enjoyment time for anything anymore. It's always
we're all moving too fast.
We've been programmed to just on to the next thing,
That's why I love my life now, because we value that stuff. Yeah. We barely watch television anymore because we value our time together more. Yeah. We love our conversations. We love playing games together. Things I never did in my life, actually, really, with anyone. Yeah. Now I have that, and it's all slowed down. And you know what? I think I'm happier for it. I really do.
Slow down to speed up sometimes.
Yeah. Right. Heck yeah.
I like that. I think that, if you share these things, it took you how many years to learn these lessons?
I'm still learning them. I'm
I
actually
know, we're always still learning. That was the other thing, that was
That's
one
not
of the
over
traits
yet.
of a high performers. You never stop learning.
Never.
You never think I've gotten to the best shape or
Never.
I've gotten to the best mental
There's always
place.
a new way to do something.
Yeah, there's always something to innovate
or a new perspective,
learn.
right? That's why again, going back to Robin Sharma, he talks about how he has certain books that he's read over and over again because your life circumstances change. When you read that book, you may be in a certain state ready to receive that information, or you receive it in a certain way. If you read it again, you'll receive it in a different way, or you'll gain a new insight, a new layer to it, right? So we're never done. We're never done.
I read the same book every year at New Year's again and again.
I've got mine.
But what's interesting though is like I've watched, because it's the Awaken the Giant Within, the Tony Robbins book, which is kind of like an old golden oldie. But what I love about it is like every year there's a different giant that awakens inside me, because there's a different phase of where I'm at in my life, and I can look back and remember where I was 5-6 years ago when I read that, and it's like how much more development has happened. It's all still relevant.
Are you telling me that you don't have it all figured out yet?
Well, Eric, I'm not going to tell you I do.
Hurry up.
No. What lessons are, I know. No, I don't think you ever stop growing.
No,
and
I don't think so either.
I got to watch a wonderful person have their 90th, celebrate their 90th birthday a few weeks ago. And, I spend a lot of time with them, and it's great because I see them, they're still learning.
Yeah.
She was sitting around the dinner table, sharing something she'd saw on TV and telling a story about something. And I was like, and this most wonderful, vibrant human being still that just is not, that I think honestly would love to live for another 100 years because
I'm with her.
Yeah, it's just so happy with life. But I think that's one thing is like once you think you know it all or you've reached the best place in your life, that's when you stop.
If you're not trying, you're dying.
If you're not growing, you're dying. Yeah, if you're not trying, you're dying. If you're not keep moving forward to something else, and it's
I think so.
Yeah, so it means I'm content. I love things about my life, but I have to intentionally make myself discontent to keep moving forward, because it's in the growth that the wonderful things happen.
Just take it for granted that you're going to be learning new things for the rest of your life if you're paying attention and if you care.
I want to keep learning.
Do you want to grow?
I want to keep.
Do you want to grow?
New ways? Yeah.
I mean, to me, it's like, okay. I just want to give you one little analogy that I have that I thought about. Birth. You're launched out of a cannon, okay? Takes you like the first, I don't know how long to figure out where you even are, right? Then you get to a little bit in the middle arc and you're kind of like, oh, wait, I can kind of see what's the landscape. I can kind of see things. You have a very short amount of time to do some stuff.
Enjoy that.
And then you're on your downward arc, right?
Yeah.
And to me, it's like, that's freeing. That awareness is freeing, because it's like you can't make a wrong move.
Well, I think I posted that yesterday. The beginnings are scary, the endings are sad, but the magic is in the middle.
That's right. So while you're in that middle arc, why don't you just like do a little dance in the middle of it? You know what I mean? Like, it's like, why not get a little crazy, have a little fun, push yourself in a way that like, I can do that. Yeah. That's kind of cool, why not?
Don't be in a rush to the end.
No, and don't be in a rush to define yourself, because that is very limiting too. And you're always going to be getting to know yourself, and you're always going to find a new trick. You're going to be like, oh, that's cool. Yeah. I didn't know I could do that. If that's part of the thing where we talk about pushing yourself out of the comfort zone. That's what we're talking about, right? It's like, that's why, because then you learn new layers to yourself, new things that you didn't realize that you could do, like this, like getting in, doing this, you know what I mean? Or I don't know, a lot of things,
Well, if we don't try, we won't know.
No.
What our capacity is. And I think,
but you're not just, it's like, you don't just move from here to here. You can actually move to here.
Right.
How often do you do that? You know what I mean? Like, that's if you know what I'm saying.
You have to get to a place where people kind of think you're a little crazy. And I remember, I think it was Brendon Burchard said, if people aren't telling you you're crazy, you're not living to the outer limits of your potential.
Do something that makes you uncomfortable, like every week. Just do something.
Someone
one
might
thing.
think it's crazy that you're going surfing on your birthday, or it's crazy that you're trying to reach this goal that you set for yourself, whatever it is. But it's like people aren't telling me that what I'm doing is kind of crazy. I get a lot of flack for the ice bath thing. They think it's crazy, but whatever works for me. Makes me feel better.
Yeah,
so,
it's not killing you.
Yeah, it's not killing. It's not hurting anything.
Right.
So I think you have to be in control of what it is that you're looking for in your life, and then you have to decide what are you going to allow.
So agree.
Let dictate what you do every day.
Yeah.
So and I'm inspired by, like, when people say, "Oh, that so and so is a know-it-all." I like to refer to them as tell-it-all. They like to tell what it is, and usually that person that gets pegged as like the know-it-all, they don't really know it all. They've just tried to learn it all, and they want to share a lot about what they've learned most of the time. Those are the people that have continued to keep learning in their life.
They're just trying to share.
Sharing. Yeah, which is where you learn the most. It's those that want to share.
No, I agree with that.
Because we might get pegged as the know-it-alls right now. They're like, what do Eric and Lucy really know? And it's like, we know a lot, but not really much.
Every day I'm like, I still know nothing.
Yeah, I still know
every
nothing.
time I learn something new, I realize how much I don't know.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Sometimes, like,
that's okay.
I think about that. I still kind of go, I remember telling a colleague this was years ago, but every now and then I still feel that. I'm like, I feel so grown up. Like, because there's still that little inner child that's like, I don't know that I really quite reached that.
Yeah, I feel that way in my business now. I feel like, after the amount of time I've been in now, I feel like I don't have to ask the same questions I did when I was first starting. Mm-hmm. Now I know those answers, right? For the most part.
But now there's new questions.
There's new questions. So once you get those established, that's a chance to build on what you know. Mm-hmm. That's why I say it's an ongoing evolution. I swear I will never ever say that I know it all. That I know that I'm. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm not. To say that I'm there. That will never come out of my mouth because I know that's not true. That's just not true.
You never in our business.
Yeah. There's always something new, and our business is always changing, right? I mean, it's like when I meet clients that say, "Oh, well, I've sold houses 3 or 4 times." I'm like, "You haven't done it this week because it's all different."
Yeah, it
you know
changed
what I mean?
this week.
Yeah.
It changed.
Really?
It changed yesterday.
Dude, I don't even know.
I'm still learning today. Let me go look that up.
Exactly.
Thank goodness for iPhones and the internet to look things up, but I do.
Not.
Yeah, or not. Yeah, don't Google it right now.
No. Don't do it. Don't do it. Yeah.
No, I think that it's really important though to share what you have learned and have platforms like this where you put it out there. And if there's anything like, it doesn't have to be about your business when you share. Sometimes it's just about sharing life. That's another thing of looking for people to help. If you can share a little bit of the struggle in your life and that inspires or helps somebody else. And I can tell you from watching your shares, there's at least one person every day when you share that goes, oh, that motivated
to me. It's your responsibility. That's how I look at it. It's like the bad experiences. This is the advice I give people. I say, you're going through a bad experience. You will get through it, okay? But then your goal, once you've gone through that situation, is to share what you went through to help someone else. Now you can become kind of a teacher. I mean, not that everyone's situation is the same, but you can empathize. They understand that you've been through this too, right? Yeah. And that is really powerful. So I do feel like that's your responsibility as a human.
Well, and I know you take that seriously. That's why you always share.
I do. Oh.
It's like, what new are we going to learn today?
But I don't know it all.
No, we don't know it all.
No, I don't know it all.
So, because you also ask a lot of questions, but not just about work, but like questions about life, and you're always curious. And I think that's part of it too, is just always being curious.
Hunger for more.
Yeah, kids always are like, how does that work? And you're not afraid to ask somebody else.
And it keeps you young.
Yeah. Yeah.
It keeps you young.
Because other people know things that I don't know.
And if you think you know everything, then you kind of become calcified. You kind of like, oh, there's nothing more. Yeah. Really? I don't think that's true.
Well, I don't want to be the smartest person in the room.
No.
Like I want to be in rooms with others that know things that I don't know, so that I can learn them, or that have done things that I haven't done. And it's like when somebody tells me they've gone on some fabulous trip or they've done something, it's like I never feel envious. I always want to know, because that helps me build like my vision, my dream of life.
My favorite thing to say to people is, how did you get there? Yeah. How did you get there? Yeah. Like, you know what I mean? Even like, it goes into a lot of things. I mean, the way someone dresses, or the way they the choices they've made in their life. I'm like, how did you get there? I'm very curious. Not that I'm trying to criticize. I'm just like, wow, what was your journey? What brought you to this point? You know what I mean? That's so interesting because it's about people's lives. And I think in our business, that's one of my favorite things about what we do. I love learning about my clients. I want to hear their stories because I'm always constantly amazed by the commonality that we share without ever having met them. But they're seeing a lot of the same stuff that I've seen. They're having a lot of the same experiences that I've had, you know?
Well, if you're curious and you ask questions, you know, you'll find that there's so much rapport in every relationship.
That's the magic.
Most of us don't stop because we're all looking to go on to the next Netflix show.
Yeah.
And we're not waiting to see what really is that person about.
Or they're in their phone.
Yeah.
That kind of stuff.
Guilty. That's probably why I have bad back. I'm looking at my phone too much.
Stop.
And you do it too.
I know I do. It's true.
Well, I think we're just about out of time. Yeah. But I appreciate you sharing today.
I loved
this
it.
was kind of
last
great. Minute.
Fun.
But it's always good, and so we'll continue to keep sharing. I hope you've learned some things today, and I can't wait to share more. So I hope everyone has a great week. We'll see you next time.